let's begin with that standoff in South Korea, which began with the late night
모든 언론과 출판은 계엄사의 통제를 받는다.
All media in South Korea are coming under the control of martial law.
They said are banned under threat of arrest, and the media was censored according to martial law.
인터넷에서 뉴스를 검색하고 있었던 것 같아요.
I was on the internet checking the news. Then someone called and said, "You have to turn on the TV right now." It must have been about a minute after martial law was declared.
비상 계엄을 선포합니다.
Shortly after that, I started getting calls from all over. I was told, "They're coming to get you, so run."
널 잡으러 가니 빨리 도망가라는 얘기였어요.
The night of 3rd December 2024 was pure chaos in South Korea. Martial law had been imposed swiftly and suddenly, and outside the offices of Kim Ou-Joon, armed troops gathered with orders to imprison him. In a list of targets that included leading politicians and high-ranking bureaucrats, Kim was the only media person marked for arrest.
Kim Ou-Joon was singled out during the martial law because of his political influence and because he had a lot of progressive followers. So it was as if taking the leader of the progressives to take down resistance. The fact that Kim Ou-Joon was considered a threat to Yoon Suk-yeol, the conservative administration, I think that really shows how media persona is becoming a more of a political force in Korea.
There are definitely a lot of players who have risen in significance, who have benefited directly from the political polarization that has spiked in South Korea over the past decade or so. And as a result, many YouTubers have come up and their views have also surged. Kim Ou-Joon's influence and high profile essentially also made him a target of the Yoon administration during martial law as they attempted to arrest him. Also, in the aftermath of martial law, he certainly became a pivotal figure in bringing out more information about what happened in those few hours.
비상계엄 해제 결의하고 해제가 다 되고 난 이후에도 공간 앞에 있었다는.
Kim Ou-Joon is a media maverick. His career of nearly 3 decades has spanned radio, television, publishing, and the online space. He has moved from medium to medium, platform to platform, with the determined agility of a man intent on staying relevant and being heard. During South Korea's decade of back-to-back conservative governments that started in 2008, Kim's political criticism was sharp, satirical, and unapologetically oppositional.
그래서 저는 이 외교 안보 라인이 정말 등신에 가깝다. 등신 라인이다.
Kim rose to prominence as the host of a rush-hour radio program in Seoul called News Factory. It aired on the Traffic Broadcasting System, TBS, and was the city's top-rated show for almost all of its 6-year run until 2022. Kim's influence, incessant swearing, at times libelous rants, and liberal bias eventually had repercussions. When the Conservatives returned to power under the presidency of Yoon Suk-yeol, the man who would eventually try to impose martial law, TBS, which relied heavily on public funding, saw its budget slashed, and Kim and his program, News Factory, were forced off the air. As it turned out, this was a gear shift moment for Kim. He launched his YouTube channel in January 2023, and his audience not only followed him, it multiplied. Kim's YouTube channel is called Gyeomsonen Himderda. Gyeomson means modesty or humility, and the name translates roughly to humility is hard, and it fits Kim's persona perfectly. He is irreverent and unfiltered. His online network now sits in the top ranks of South Korea's media. In his view, it's a necessary corrective in a landscape dominated by conservative players.
아주 오랜 시간 동안
For a very long time, our media environment has been monopolized by the conservatives. And now they talk about polarization. What polarization? For there to be polarization, there must be 2 poles. But all this time, there was only one side, one pole, dominating the media. So when people say there is a polarization, that actually means balance has been restored, because the other side has finally appeared, and both poles are fighting it out, at last.
이제야.
Kim Ou-Joon has been one of the most listened to pundits in South Korean politics for quite a few years now. And his style is one that really pushes boundaries and essentially makes big claims, catering more to progressive audiences. And in doing so, quite often he is willing to really take things to extremes, often focusing more on delivering opinions, not always backing it up with factual evidence, and even occasionally verging on conspiracy theories.
그 카르텔에 균열을 내겠다. 편파적으로. 그러나 그 편파에 이르는 과정은 공정할 것이다.
Kim Ou-Joon's relationship with conspiracies is something he's given a lot of thought to.
그 입증되기 전까지
Until it is proven, every hypothesis is a conspiracy. But when you are dealing with power, you can't wait until everything is proven before you raise issues, because they can conceal or distort facts to their advantage. I'm not at all embarrassed to be called a conspiracy theorist.
부끄럽지 않다는 거죠.
Unverified claims, rumors, and anonymous tip-offs are central to Kim's political output, and his record is mixed. One of the most outrageous conspiracies he pushed was an alleged assassination plot against a conservative politician. It proved to be false. But another claim that a Supreme Court judge was possibly biased against the current president is now at the center of an ongoing audit of that judge's conduct. Amidst the political turmoil in South Korea, Kim has seemingly become a kingmaker for the Liberal Democratic Party. In the space of a year, more than 100 Democratic members of parliament appeared on his YouTube channel. Kim's political clout has earned him nicknames like political shaman Kim Ou-Joon or the president of Chungjeong-ro, which is where his studio is located.
So Kim Ou-Joon emerged as a progressive spokesperson with the image of rebel who fights against the conservative media. I do think he played a role, an influential role, in diversifying the forms of media outside the legacy media with like his online newspapers or podcasts, and now YouTube, which kind of shows that politics can exist outside of the traditional media and can be interactive.
저런 얘기를 하잖아요.
You hear people say things like the media should be free from partisanship. They talk about journalism's duty of fairness or its so-called ethical standards. To me, that's a 20th century concept of journalistic ethics. For example, take a story like Gaza. The cost of being non-partisan, of being neutral, is the normalization of Palestinian people being killed, isn't it?
오늘 8시 뉴스는 팔레스타인 무장 세력 하마스와 이스라엘 간 무력 충돌 소식으로 시작하겠습니다. 하루 만에 양쪽에서 4,000명이 넘는 사상자가 나왔습니다.
Neutrality is not the same as fairness.
중립이 곧 공정이 아니에요.
South Korea's media landscape is peppered with the likes of Kim Ou-Joon. He is one of the most influential voices, but he does have competition. In the progressive YouTube space, there are Mabel Show and Voice of Seoul. Amongst right-wing influencers are political scientist Ko Sung-kook and history lecturer turned political activist John Han-gil. Together with many others, these voices have created a cacophony that they say is a response to a compromised mainstream media. Observers of the country's politics, however, say the YouTube influencers are part of a, quote, democratic regression from below.
It is quite important for South Korea that credible journalism returns stronger than before. But the question is, where is this robust journalism really going to come from? At the moment, certainly a lot of people have lost their faith in mainstream media who are more focused on maintaining their access to those in power and often indulge in self-censorship. At the same time, there are a lot of newer media outlets, news influencers as well, who essentially seem more focused on catering to their bases, delivering opinions rather than facts, rather than credible journalism. So people like Kim Ou-Joon have fundamentally reshaped the media environment in South Korea. But have they resolved the conundrum of political polarization and the lack of factual information? Not really.